Sayyidi, sometimes ego appears not as rebellion but as helping, explaining, or even serving. How do we detect the ego in its most deceptive forms, especially when it wears the mask of spirituality?
Yeah, through their practices and tafakkur and contemplation, we said that the nafs and shaitan can fool us in what we may perceive to be religious practices, when in actuality there's something there. So for example, in Ramadan it's qiyam al-layl, to pray the 20 rakahs, and it's meditative, it can be done lightly. Then meditating at night, reading Qur'an at night, all of these have their secret. So then why shaitan teams up with the nafs of certain people and keep insisting that they have to do the 20 rakahs reciting the whole of Qur'an. So it sounds like it's a good deed, noble deed, but again for very specific people who understand completely the Arabic, alhamdulillah. For everyone else it seems to scare them away. So they lost the immense secret of Ramadan. They ate too much iftar, so now they can't get any energy in their body because all the energy went to dissolve the food. Then they entered into the taraweeh, they got so overwhelmed by a 2.5 hour standing prayer that they cut it to 8 rakahs and ran away, and after about 4 days they even stopped going for that. So you can see how the nafs plays with somebody to think it's something good, alhamdulillah, but in reality it's scaring them away from the real secret, because he knows there's a secret in Ramadan. And we said before, he knows it's going to happen regardless, but how am I going to stop them from achieving the Laylatul Qadr and the power and faqara bi qudrati wal baqa, all night long these powers that are coming. And that's the danger, that those whom they raise themselves above satanic desires or outright evilness and badness and all these things, but to be fooled in thinking something's pious. And that's when they have to have guidance, that's why they do their muraqabah, that's why they follow a tariqa. So we followed the tariqas and we never saw the Sultan al Awliya, that's why we can speak with such a firmness on the subject. We prayed 35 years with the Sultan and his highest deputy and we never saw them do that. So this is with a firmness that this is a trick that shaitan is playing. And so our kids went to the mosque overwhelmed with 2.5 hours of standing and ran away. And I said, look, you don't have to do that, why don't you just do the 20 rakahs how we do it and meditate later and read Qur'an nice and slowly so you can understand it. So these are then these different tricks. And also we've explained before, communities that keep coming together to build more masjids. They have a masjid but the 10 people they don't get along, they convince each other that why don't 5 of us break away and make another masjid. Then they break again, but it was conquer and divide until you have 10 masjids with one person in each one of them. And all they wanted to be was the president. It wasn't for Allah's sake, it was, I just want to be Rais Jumhur, I want to go back to my home country, say I'm president of this masjid, that masjid. So it comes to people as a pious act, a pious deed, and fools them into breaking the community, dividing the community. And that's when we gave the talks of the real masjids are not the buildings that men build but the hearts that the saints build, because qalbul mu'min baytullah. So the real masjid that Allah needs, the eternal masjid that Allah wants is the heart of servants, not the buildings. Look, people are blowing up buildings left and right. What happened? Because Allah's showing the dunya always perishes. Either you wait 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, it's going to perish and anything you've done on it will be destroyed and put into dust. But that which you build of yourself is for all of eternity, and that's what's important to Allah. And that's why the tariqas they safeguard the religion from the bewildering of shayateen who come and confuse people with pious acts, thinking it's piety to be mean, to be hard, go to a park and yell and argue. Until now they're all doing their research and they're coming to the park and yelling at the Muslims. So bravo, then you made everything to be a fitna. They had big protests in the UK and big anti-Muslim movements. Well, if you do that enough at the park and you keep insulting people's religion and this is their homeland, of course they're going to come together and throw you out. So this bad character is what causing everybody problems, and even their bad character they think they're doing it in the way of Allah, which is the worst. And that's when Allah says, you're guided, you're rightly guided. If you're not guided, there is no guidance. Hadana Allah. Guidance has to come from Allah, and that's why it's in the tariqas. And these tariqas they should be ashiqeen of Sayyidina Muhammad, and they guide people to the khuluq, the character of Sayyidina Muhammad. You notice even Ahlul Sunnah who claim they're Ahlul Sunnah very hard, but they don't talk about character, they talk a lot about hadith. And the rule for the tariqas is attain the rahmah. So before you start talking too many hadiths, it's too big a steak that people can't chew on, they barely can remember one hadith and live by it. Why don't you talk about the khuluq? Well, because if they talk about the khuluq it would divulge that they have no clothes on. So somebody's appearing as if they're pious and knowing. Well, why don't you talk about the khuluq and see that, oh, I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. Then everything you've been doing with your character you'll find out was wrong. Because the khuluq of Prophet was most important, soft spoken, loving nature, kindness. Make 70 excuses for your brother. Don't call them out, don't find their name and start making videos to attack them. This is not the khuluq. So who cares now you memorize 20 hadiths, my recorder memorized 10,000 is probably better than you in character. So it's not about that, it was all about the character of people. So these are again the safeguards of the rightly guided tariqah people. And this is the importance of last days. We warn people, don't go out on the street, don't go out on the street. They collect the names of people on a website. Now they print the website and they go one by one looking for them now. Take them out of school, take them out of campuses, take them off the streets, they don't care where they are, they're coming after them. Well, this is what tariqah was telling you, don't do those things, inshaAllah.